Hi everyone. This one is the continuation about when I was talking about some signs of twin flames, and I was talking about the low vibrations that I was experiencing when living in US during the later part of my living there. So what had happened is when you're living in a foreign country, we all undergo a little bit of isolation because we are missing things from India, a little bit of sadness and loneliness because we are in a different country where we have to make new friends. So all these things can play a role in our life to cause us to have a social structure or not have a social structure that might or might not be beneficial for us. But when I was growing up as a child, I also led kind of an isolated existence back then as well because of just the way things turned out in my life. I still don't know actually completely what was going on in my life since about maybe like my fourth, fifth standard, or a little later. But things were quite puzzling for me. Many different things showed up in my life that even if I reflect now, I can't say for sure what exactly was going on. But in definitely the thing that had the most long lasting impression in my life, though, were the teen years when a lot of conflict was going around in the household. But we had a simple lifestyle in India, and my dad was a government employee, and we had a single income household. His family came from a village while my mom's family lived in the city, and they were a little bit more affluent than my dad's side of the family. So I experienced the lifestyle of people who lived in simple villages, and I also experienced the lifestyle of people who lived in the city when living in India. And being a city brought up person, I wasn't very much connected to nature or natural things. So, whatever I am going to talk about in my videos, it's kind of going to be very different from how I grew up. There was nature in our house. My all my grandmothers and my mother, all of them were fond of plants, so they used to grow some kind of flowers and in the home. My maternal grandmother lived in a house with a rooftop where there was a lot of space, so lots of flowers were grown in that house. And my mom, we lived in the city where we had only a small balcony space, and we used to have like two three green plants in the house, whereas my paternal grandmother had a big piece of land, not very big, but it was as large as the house in which they lived. And so they had some fruit trees as well as some flowering trees in the garden. And my paternal grandmother was very fond of raising plants. So, because of this reason, I did have some exposure to greenery. And then, when I was living in the place where my dad was working, it was a government colony. So, there were many buildings, and it was a colony structure, and the colony structure was such that we had a dispensary inside the colony, we had school inside the colony, we had shopping places inside the colony. So we didn't have anything for much, we didn't need anything much for just day to day living. We only used to go occasionally outside the colony to visit our dad's friends who lived in the same city. And I grew up in Mumbai, or it was called Bombay at that time. And though Bombay is one of the most polluted cities in India right now and very congested and densely populated city, back when I was growing up and the part of Bombay where I lived, they had a structure where there was at least 50% greenery in the colony. And because of the greenery in the colony, we had a lot of clean air access, clean water access, and good food also. I don't know where the food came from in our colony, but as a child, I never faced any trouble in terms of food or living conditions. The only one thing that was troublesome in our childhood was that my dad wasn't too much of a spender. So, and he came from a very low socioeconomic background. So, as a result of his socioeconomic background, he wouldn't really spend much except on regular food. And for clothes and all, we used to just have a few set of clothes every year that we used to get during the festival time, which was Durga Puja for us. I'm a Bengali, and during Durga Puja, every relative used to we used to exchange new clothes with each other. So we used to end up getting like a handful of new clothes every year, and that was the whole set of clothes that we lived on while living in India. So when I went to US, going to US was also because he was a government employee. It was an expensive thing for him to sponsor my going. He said that he had to borrow money from my uncle to pay for some of the tickets and everything. So a year after I came back, year or maybe 3 years after, I don't remember which year, I gave back my dad some of the money that I had borrowed from him, because to me it was like I have borrowed some money from my dad and I should give it back because he's a government employee, and when I'm earning so much in India compared to Indian terms, it was a lot of money. So I gave him back that money that he had used for sponsoring my ticket. And at that time, when I gave back the money to him, I had felt a little bit sad that why is my dad asking me for money? Because he is a government employee, he has a steady income, steady paycheck. So I couldn't really understand why he should be asking his kid for money. But even then, I also felt, on the other hand, there was a little bit of ego involved when I gave him back the money that he had taken from my uncle, thinking that as a child, though, I should indeed give back to my parents for raising me. And anyways, many children, when they first earn their salaries, they do end up giving some money to their parents. So, and I knew that my dad, when my grandparents used to live in the village, I knew that occasionally my dad would send them money. So because of this reason, I did give him some money just in the initial years. But after that, I have never really asked my dad whether he needs any financial help, thinking that being a government employee, he gets a retirement income. And because of that reason, I never thought much about my dad's finances. Of course, when he came to visit me in US 2 times after I started working as a pharmacist, which was almost 6-7 years later of living in US. And in those beginning years of living in US, even though the salary that we get as a graduate student, I had got a salary as a research assistant for working and doing some research work in the University of Utah. And while doing the research work there, we would get a stipend. Our yearly stipend was initially was $17,000. And then later on it was increased a little. And then that stipend, though, even though it was a great stipend, when you're coming from India and you have to establish your life in a new country, and I came only with $300 or $500 borrowed from my dad. So I had only that much money in the first month. And in the first month, of course, for a week or 10 days or something, I lived with a girl who was working at the university. And there was some long distance contact with her. And because of that reason, she had, and being an Indian, some Indian students, we do this, that when we are living in a foreign country, we sponsor students to come and stay with us for a week or so, because we know how difficult it is for graduate students, initially for new students, to figure things out. So almost every Indian does this. At least all the Indian students I know, many of us have done this, that when we came, we help out newer students. So actually immediately after coming there, the Indian Student Association asked us to help another new student who was coming in, because at that time in that department lot of Indian students had happened to arrive in Utah. So we ended up, even though we were new students, we ended up hosting a new student. This term is called hosting. You host and basically give free rent and food to people who are coming from foreign country, and you show them the ropes, like show them where to go to do the banking, where to go to apply for the university ID card, for social security, where is the medical center, these kind of like basic information that we might need. We used to someone did it for me, and then a month or 2 months later, our my degree program had started like 2 months earlier than the engineering program that was starting. So when the student came, new girl came in the engineering program, me and my roommate partly helped her. Like I helped her with certain things, and the other girl helped her with other things. So this was like in the first year itself we had done this. But this is the flip side of living in a foreign country. You end up helping each other. You end up helping strangers, you end up helping people whom you may have never known in your life previously. You end up people from other countries. People from other countries end up helping you. You make friends with people from different countries and cultures. So these are all the fun experiences I had in US, and I overall always enjoyed this aspect of living in US. But with every good thing there is a bad thing. What was the bad thing that I wasn't enjoying? I wasn't enjoying not having deep, meaningful connections, because as a child, even though where I was, we had a lower socioeconomic status. Maybe we can be considered as a lower middle class family in India. And even though we were a lower middle class family and we weren't really that affluent, we wouldn't spend money on many things, we had a very happy childhood. Like I found my childhood days to be the happiest days of my life, especially because of my friends. Every day in the evening almost, we would go out and play for an hour or so in the evening, and those hours of playing with friends were very meaningful. And I don't know why I'm getting emotional. Maybe because my friends are remembering me. I don't know. But that was very beautiful aspect of living. And the other thing that I missed about India when I lived in US was that almost once yearly we used to go to Calcutta for vacation, and we would spend like an hour at least, not an hour, sorry for being so emotional, but we would spend a month in Calcutta during vacation time. Most of the time it was summer vacation that we would go, but sometimes other than summer vacations, we would end up going during Durga Puja. I think once or twice we have gone, which is usually either in the month of October or November. And so Durga Puja, Diwali, both combined, we had gone like one time or two times, I think, in childhood days. Or maybe three times. I don't remember now because it's a little blurry. But those vacation times spent with my cousins, and vacation times going and visiting different cousins in their different houses used to be interesting for me, because I'm always interested in the social aspect of living, I guess. That's just my personality, I guess. So I used to really love the differences that I saw in different families, and the way they grew up or the way they live their life, what kind of food they eat. Every house has its own rules and own set of things. And every time I went and lived in their houses, we used to sometimes stay over at our dad's sisters' houses for like a week or a few days. And it always used to be interesting for me. But most of the time we spent in our maternal grandparents' house because we used to be really close to my maternal cousins who were near the same age as me and my brother. So hanging out with them was more fun than hanging out with cousins who were maybe like 10, 20 years older to me. But so these were all the fun experiences that I was missing when I was living in US. So obviously, whenever I managed to come back to India while as a graduate student, you don't really get paid as much, or they don't really want to give you that holiday. But somehow or the other, I was lucky enough to get that 1 month vacation in the first year. But then in the next year, the first year was sponsored by the university, and that's why, because the university was paying my some of my research pay and also the student pay. Because the university was paying that, they were okay with me going and staying in India for a month. But the next year onwards, the payment was being done by my professor, and he was obviously not going to be happy if people take time off and all, and that's what happens to many students. So they don't get to come and visit India and all that. I'm talking about my past experiences because these are all parts of the things that can cause people to feel sad in life, feel depressed in life, feel lost in life. And I want to help souls like me who, if they have gone to a foreign country, how they feel. I understand that. So if you want to talk to me or chat with me or email me or drop a comment below to tell your own experiences, that would be great, because we all collectively go through these kind of experiences when we are living in a foreign country. And even if you're not living in a foreign country, just living outside your family circumstances and living in a hostel life, also even in India, can lead to people having such similar experiences of homesickness, loneliness, and things like that. But one thing was also simultaneously going on with me was that my mom passed away a year before in my final year, and which was like about 2 years before I went to US. And so it was a very raw and recent wound, and because it was such a recent wound, the first few years I wasn't really that social. I was very quiet, and in India also, at home no one talks in our home, and we didn't used to share many things at home. So I used to usually just either watch like these are the three things I used to do when I was growing up: either study or watch TV, or at home, study, watch TV, or read a storybook. These are the three main activities. Occasionally I would chat with my brother, but after we hit our teen years, for some reason we didn't gel that much, and so we wouldn't chat so much after teen years. And of course I had friends also, so sometimes I would invite friends over during vacation time to come over to our place, and we would sit and play board games and things like that inside the house on vacation times. Or actually after teen years, when all of us had kind of overgrown playing outside, running around outside. For some reason, Indian girls tend to do this. They stop playing outside, they stop running around, because they start getting this awareness of people looking at them, staring at them. And there are other younger kids also who want to play in that same playground. So somehow it happens that Indian teen girls stop actually actively doing something outdoors. But one lucky thing for me was that the colony that we had, which had a lot of trees, it had a lot of walking space also. So me and my friends, we used to go on long walks. We would go for 1 hour, over an hour, 1.5 hour walks even during even regular days. Till like in India, people like really stress on getting good scores and marks in 10th grade and 12th grade, because these determine the stream in which a person will study after 12th and even after 10th. So because of that reason, until 10th grade and even maybe until about 12th grade, we wouldn't go out on walks that regularly. But during the 4 years of college time, some of our friends had gone to hostel, but the ones who still stayed and who weren't going to hostel, we all tried to connect and again resume those walks talk so that we can be connected with each other. So those are the things that was really beautiful in India, like hanging around with friends, walking around with friends, chatting about nonsensical things, about books you read, shows you watch, or in general life gossip. These are the kind of things we grew up with. So this is what I used to really enjoy in India. And so when I went to US, that was one aspect that was missing in the US life. But even though it was missing, what I did was I had one cousin with whom I used to talk a lot, and then one friend from school days with whom I used to, actually two friends from school days with whom I used to talk a lot. But then one of the friends moved to US. So slowly over time, you lose connection with friends and you don't chat as much with them because people get married, life changes, and all these things happen. So essentially, when I'm talking about all these things about my life, what I mean to say is, like, there's always some up and down thing going on in every one of us is life. So like in India, why I'm saying about all these beautiful things about India is because when I went to US, I didn't get to experience some of these connections. It took time to make new friends, and after you make new friends also, because I was dating someone, because other people were also dating other people didn't hang out as often, and only in the first year in US we had a fun time. But after that first year of everyone getting to know each other, everyone went their separate ways, after that first year or two. And after going in their separate ways after 2 years, it wasn't the same fun that we had in the first years. And also in the first 2 years you were just learning things, and everyone had gone, who I met in those first 2 years were PhD program students. And what happened was I failed my PhD program. So after I failed my PhD program, I stopped going to the university after that, and which happened around the third year for me. In my third year I failed it. There were some other students also who failed, but they got a second chance to do their PhD. And some got a second chance by applying to another university. Some got a second chance by applying in the same university. Some even just had to redo a little tweaking in their PhD application, prelims, it's called over there. They did a little bit of tweaking in their prelims and they passed. So, essentially what happened was everyone gets different experiences. So, like, if there are like 60, 70 students who came for doing a PhD program, it's not necessary that every student will pass the program, even though they were all brilliant enough to get admitted to a foreign university. I was actually, in a way, thankful later on in life, not at that point when I failed. That was the first failure I faced, and it was very heartbreaking for me to face that failure. I was in extreme crisis because after failing that, what went away? My finances went away. I didn't have any finances, any monthly income, because the professor said, you failed the program, you have got these many months to finish a master's, and after that I will not pay you. And while doing the master's, obviously I didn't think much, but I had a pharmacy degree in India. That's why I started looking for pharmacist licensing exam as a prospective, because there was another friend of mine who was doing a classmate of mine who was in another university, who had joined a 2 years master's program there, and after her master's she did this pharmacist route. So if I hadn't failed, I would have done a PhD, but instead of a PhD I ended up with a master's. So this is how life works. Sometimes life detours you with failures to move in a direction which might be better suited for you. And so I ended up moving in a different direction. So I wanted to talk about highs and lows, and I also wanted to talk about twin flames. But what I wanted to talk about twin flames is this, that our life, sometimes every twin flame will experience these positive and negative aspects in their life that will determine their journey, and some of those negative aspects in our life will make us extremely heartbroken, will disappoint us, will make us feel like failures, will make us feel like we're not doing the right thing. But it is a momentary thing. At that time in life when I had failed the PhD program and all, it was like 2004 when I failed the program, it was 2005 when I graduated with a master's, it was 2006 when I got a job as a pharmacist. So I had like this 2 years where I just didn't know where my life was going to go. And in those exactly 2 years was also the time when I didn't know where things were going with my boyfriend also, because we kept fighting with each other. We didn't know where we are going. He also failed his PhD program a year later because he had joined PhD program a year after I had done so. So basically both of us were struggling and both of us were not able to be, I tried to be there for him, but he I couldn't figure out whether my being with him or not being with him was beneficial for him for his studies. So it was a very rough time of when I was doing my prelims and studying for my prelims. My first boyfriend broke off with me just like 2 months before my prelims, and I think he broke off because of this reason only, so that I can concentrate and study. But I didn't study. I couldn't concentrate on studies. I was depressed and sad and I couldn't focus on my prelims. But see, the heartbreak of breaking off with a boyfriend who was actually just a new boyfriend, because we had only dated for few months, and within like a few months of dating he's breaking up with me. That heartbreak was that was another failure. So this was the first failure itself of life that I faced, that here it is, I have a boyfriend and I couldn't sustain it, manage it. I was feeling heartbroken. But the second thing was I was missing him very badly. That was the other thing. Third thing, I kept missing my mom the first few years of living in US, so that was there. Fourth thing, I was missing my family. So so many things were going on in my mind. So that's why I didn't regret failing the PhD qualifiers, because I was like, obviously if my mind is occupied and perpetually filled with all these different things, I'm not focusing on what the study and research work is supposed to be. I also found a little bit difficulty in doing the research work that I was doing, because one of the labs where I used to work with, we had to cut animals, we had to dissect animals, we had to experiment on animals or experiment on animal eggs. So all these things were very painful to me. My soul was like finding it very difficult to do also. So in a way, universe knew that my soul was not enjoying this kind of research work. So even though a dark phase happened, even though boyfriend broke off, even though I failed my prelims, even though after failing my prelims, I had almost a year and a half where I had 6 months to figure out about the masters. Then I got another few months to finish the thesis because my professor wasn't really happy about finishing the thesis, and he took like almost 8-9 months to give approval for the thesis. So it was all again a beneficial thing for me, because in those 8-9 months also I didn't know what to do. I had gone to India, and India, I was at that time very sad, very depressed. Some of my friends were getting married. Some of my friends had started dating people around the same time that I had started dating people, and they were going to get married. So I was also depressed about that. So, because why was I depressed? Because I was comparing my life with other people's lives. But all these life experiences, and not just me, that I was comparing my life with other people's life. My dad also kept pushing me, why don't you get married? Everyone is getting married. And he kept sometimes sending me profiles of boys that he found interesting or something. Like he would post on matrimonial sites about marriage or something. And when I was dating this other guy, I didn't know how to tell my dad that I'm dating someone, or I'm very deeply in love with this guy. So I don't know how to say that to my parents, because even though we were broken off, I still had feelings for him. So it was my feelings inside were preventing me from thinking also about going beyond this guy and going and thinking about marriage with anyone else. So I would usually just brush it off and rudely say that no, I don't want to get married. And all these things happen. But even then, eventually, I agreed to my dad's pressure. Like, he kept putting that pressure every few years. And eventually, I ended up talking to a few guys that he sent my way. And they didn't pan out. I chatted with those boys, I talked with them. A couple of them I met also, but it didn't pan out. And while all these ups and downs are going on, that is the time when I'm simultaneously doing what? I'm simultaneously worrying. But well, the guys I met later on in life, so let's forget about these guys. But there was a period of 2 years where I was completely like in extreme distress about not knowing where my future would be, what I should be doing, until I actually joined a pharmacy. I didn't know whether I'm going to get a pharmacy job. I am a foreign pharmacy graduate, so I don't know if there was a demand for a pharmacy student at that point of time. It turned out that there was a demand. It turned out, luckily for me, that there was some shortage going on in Utah, and because of that reason, I was lucky that there was a shortage going on, and because the shortage was going on, I managed to get the job, even though I was a foreign pharmacy graduate, and my level of experience could not match the clinical experience and clinical skills of a PharmD doctorate of pharmacy student who were also simultaneously graduating around that same time. And I saw that also, even though after I became a pharmacist, clinical skills wise, my clinical skills weren't that great when I joined as a pharmacist. I developed my clinical skills over time. And until I joined the doctoral of pharmacy program, like almost after 5-6 years of working as a pharmacist, I think my clinical skills were very average. But I was good as a pharmacist because I was operationally very good. I was very customer service wise very good. I can multitask. I'm very quick with decision making skills that are needed for the type of pharmacy setting where I was working. So even though I didn't have a managerial role, I had to manage day-to-day activities of a pharmacy, being the pharmacist in charge on the day in which I was working. And our pharmacy had one pharmacy manager and one pharmacist. That's it. So one day the pharmacy manager would work, one day I would work, and we would have alternate day work schedules. So that was the other thing. I used to enjoy my pharmacy work. I used to enjoy interacting with patients. I used to enjoy the challenges that my pharmacy work used to bring in my life. But I also used to not like working like 12-hour schedules, because I had to stand for 12 hours to do these work, especially on days when it is really busy. When work is relaxed or work is average pace, it used to be enjoyable. But when work used to get really busy, that you don't even get like half an hour to sit and eat lunch, or you don't get even 15 minutes to go and drink water or eat food, those are the times when I used to get very frustrated with my job. So even though I was thankful for the salary, even though I was thankful for living in US, even though I was thankful for having the opportunity to live in US and interact with so many different kinds of people, and go around and visit different beautiful places of US, simultaneously other sad things were also happening in my life. And so my personal life usually used to be very not as exciting as people would like to believe seeing my pictures, because obviously when you're posting on social media, you're always posting just the charming things about your life. You have to make even like a once a year celebration seem like a fun thing, because that's how I had a life in US for about half of my life. There was like that, where once a year I would have a birthday celebration, once a year go to a friend's place, and rest of the time, or like 2-3 times go and eat food at a friend's house, go and stay at a friend's house. But apart from that, rest 360 days of the year, or maybe 330 days of the year, I'm sitting at home alone doing nothing, either watching TV or studying for some other coursework, because I didn't have a personal life. Or maybe, occasionally once a month chatting with some guy I met online for pursuing a marriage. Like we would meet I would meet people on matrimonial websites or eHarmony. And but that was also like, again, like once in every 2-3 years I would do that, because for a while after the with the first boyfriend breakup happened, then there was a guy I talked to for a while and it didn't work out. There were a few other guys I talked, it didn't work out. Again, I was trying to get back to the first boyfriend, didn't work out. And then there was like this, I was like, I'm done with guys, I don't want to do anything, I'm just going to focus on my health. So I was just focusing on my health, looking after myself. I realized that being a plump girl, it is not a priority for many guys. So I started like losing weight, and focusing on losing weight while going to the gym. So I went through like all kinds of dieting experiments, but not like experiment. My in the gym, initial few years I worked out by myself and lost a lot of weight. I went from a size 12 to a size 8 within a few years of working out in the gym. And then when I got a trainer, he helped me. There were actually, I had 3 different trainers during the span of time I worked there, and with their help, like they were not 3, it was just the gym assigns us some trainers for a few months, and then when the trainer has to leave the job, initially I was assigned a girl trainer, but then she left the job, then I was assigned a guy trainer. And when he was not there, some other guy was also working briefly with me. So these trainers, they worked with me, and for a year or year and a half I had a trainer, and I went almost to size 4 with the nutritional diet that they were telling me to do. So all these ups and downs that were happening in my external life was also happening in my internal life, in my body. So that was also an aspect of twin flame journey, only like taking care of, doing self-care, trying to be independent when not having much social contact with many different people. I was trying to find different ways on creating a social contact, building a community. Many of my friends left 3 years before I left the US. They left Utah 3-4 years before I left Utah. And so the last 3-4 years of my life was extremely painful, because even the close bonds and friendships that I had built in the initial 8-10 years of my life, it all went away, because all those friends had moved away. They were busy with their marriages and kids, and they didn't have time to talk. Even my best friend from India who used to live in US, she also got busy with her kids, so she didn't have time. Everyone around me was busy with their kids. So people were not really having time to even talk on the phone, because when you're a busy mom, it's very difficult to have social contact as a new mom. So I understood that, and that's why I wouldn't really call my friends that often. I stopped calling them. Earlier, if I was calling them once every few months, later on I only used to call them like once in 6-7 months, or even once a year sometimes might have happened. But my friend and one of my cousins, they lived in California. They knew this, it wasn't possible to talk very often, but they also wanted some vacation and things like that. So what we used to do was, in some festival time or some vacation time, I would sometimes go and visit them, or when one of their kids had a birthday party, they would invite me and I would go and visit them during the birthday parties. And that would be like my Indian vacation, when I would visit my relatives. Only differences, in Indian vacations we used to go for 1 month. Here I could only usually manage to go for 3-4 days, or maximum a week. And then so these things were happening. And what Why am I talking about my US life as a part of my twin flame journey is this, that later on in life, I realized that with my twin flame, whatever the universe showed me as was happening in his life, I realized that there were a lot of parallelisms in our life, that the journey we had, about, be it about the different relationship disasters we might have had, because though my twin flame has never told me who he has dated, the universe has shown me people that he could have potentially dated, and I kind of can figure out from that, like if the universe has said about these 5 6 people could have been the people that he could have potentially dated, I figured out that out of those at least one or two he has indeed dated. Or universe, only if I ask the question to the universe gives back the answer to me in the divine time. So this is the thing about the twin flame journey. Even though you may not have met your twin flame in person, or even if you have met your twin flame in person, later on, after the journey is set up in such a way that you may have decades or years or months of no contact with your twin flame, no personal individual contact with your twin flame. But despite not having individual personal contact with your twin flame, the journey is designed in such a mystical way that you will always have some parallelism going on in life, because both of you are, if you are the kind of twin flame, there are different kinds of twin flame also. I have realized the type of twin flame where if you are two souls, the same soul manifested in two different bodies, then you have tried to manifest similar soul experiences also, because that is part of your twin flame path. So I think this I think, or you can say, I almost know that very similar experiences that we had faced, one of the very similar experiences was this experience of loneliness, was the experience of being in a situation where we are thrown in situation with strangers, and we have to build up becoming social with strangers. And initially it might be a difficult process to be social, and it took me almost 13 years to build new kind of after the first 8 years, whatever friendships we had built in the first few years of living as a graduate student, those friendships went away. Then I was forced to make new friendships, and in that midpoint of time in US, I had even sponsored a girl to come and stay with me. Now I realize, looking back, that I could have taken her up as a roommate also, and that way opened the gateway to making new friends of younger generation. But I had briefly, when I was having some funding issues after I had failed my PhD program, I realized that my bank balance was going to go towards zero within a few months if I didn't get a job. And at that time, or what job I had a job as I was working in a preschool while I was finishing up my thesis. So when I was working in a preschool, that is a very minimal pay. The pay that a preschool teacher, a teaching aide gets is very less. And I didn't have a full-time job. It was only part-time. And because of it being a part-time job, because I was not getting a full-time pay, because and it was much less salary than a research student salary. So I knew that whatever I was earning monthly, I was hardly earning like $300 or $400 a month. I was maybe earning about $400 a month, 350 to 400, and I had some savings from my previous earnings, but $400 was not possible for me to live in the student housing that I was living, because that the housing's rent itself was 400 or a little bit more than 400 possibly, and I had a car to run, I had groceries and all those expenses, so 400 was just not possible for me to manage with. So I ended up living in a house with 4 girls sharing a 2-bedroom apartment, and where the rent would be about 200 per person, or a little less than 200 per person. And for a few 6 7 months, or maybe a little bit longer than that, I did that. And after that only I got the pharmacist internship, where I earned a lot more money, and that's when I started living independently. And I realized that I like my alone time, I like my me time, and these are the reasons why I didn't get a roommate later on in life. for a long time. So I have, even now, I'm living in India. I'm living away from family, and I'm contemplating right now, should I get a roommate? I have a big house where I can get some. I sometimes feel sad. I ask my cousins to come and move in with me and stay, or at least, like, stay with me for a month or a week or something. And they can afford to come here and enjoy their lives a little bit and do something different in their lives. But that is the thing, many people in India have stopped enjoying their life, have stopped valuing certain things about their life, which is why this COVID situation also exists in India. That even though we have great opportunities to create a community setup, great opportunities to have a communal living type lifestyle with our family and friends, many people in India usually don't enjoy that, don't understand that, are afraid of that, even, especially sometimes because of socioeconomic issues, sometimes because of social programming and patterns and norms and beliefs that they have. So this is a thing that needs to change in India. People need to start becoming more friendlier, start understanding that life is, we are all social animals and that we're all interconnected. So if we are facing challenges in life, and if we don't discuss those challenges with people we love, that can cause issues in our life. And by talking through our problems, we can sometimes talk through certain things that might be puzzling us. And the ascension journey is set up in such a way to puzzle human beings. People will go the wrong direction when they are going in the ascension journey, especially when they are in the dark night of the soul phases. And because I have experienced darkness many a times in my life, throughout my childhood days also, and in my early 20s and early 30s as well, and even now, like 2 years back, I was facing a dark night of the soul. So constantly for about 40 years, in my 42 years of life, I have faced many dark night of the soul experiences, many dark experiences. And but every dark experience was set up probably by the universe in a way. Like it is said that even when someone is doing something harmful to you, if someone is trying to harm you or doing some negative karma behind your back that you may not be aware of is going on in your life, even if some negative scheming is going behind your back, or someone is, the situation in your life is setting up in such a way that you're not able to live life in the happiest way possible, or like some circumstances are happening where you're having financial crunch, something is happening where you're having issues in life or problems in life related to friends or relationships or spouses or children, whatever is going on in any individual's life, they are part of everyone's ascension process. And when you start self reflecting on things from your past, self reflecting on things and situations where, if you reflect only like in the last 5 years or 10 years where you were and where you are right now, everyone can calm down from the COVID related anxiety, the work related anxieties, the job loss related anxieties, the life loss related anxieties that they are going through. Because people who are kind of right now anxious during COVID, they need to know that it is only temporary. The more they fixate on the problem, then it becomes permanent. It took me 1.5 years to get out of the financial crunch I was in when I was doing my when I was finishing my thesis, when I was not sure what I should do with my life, and I was trying to help my boyfriend also do his thesis, his prelim exams, and I was frustrated. Like I could see that my presence in his life was not helping him, and it was kind of hindering him. So I tried to stay away also. But even though I stayed away, I sometimes knew when he was in distress. I would go and talk to him. I have this Clair cognizant ability. So because I have this Clair cognizant ability, sometimes I immediately understand when something is going wrong in someone I care about's life. And so I would call him or talk to him and try to get motivate him to study for his prelims, but he was not able to do it. Anyways, so despite all these things that was going on and all the ups and downs that happened in my life while I was living in US and while I'm living in India, what I have learned is that life is going to throw challenges at us. And sometimes, even though we may have aspirations of making of having like a certain position at work or a certain job that we dreamt about or a certain bank balance or a certain car or a certain kind of relationship, sometimes because of COVID, be it because of COVID, be it because of other things we had set up for our awakening, those things will fall apart. And this is what happened to me. My life that I built for 13 years in US fell apart the moment the divorce happened. It was actually falling apart 2 years before the divorce happened, but it was like slowly crumbling. Okay, so twin flames have something called tower moments, but it is not just maybe like twin flames have tower moments. Anyone who is in the spiritual awakening process, they will have these tower moments. They only set up as a soul before being born to have these tower moments if they are living too far of a lifestyle than what they came here to achieve as a twin flame or as a person who is living on earth at this time of ascension. And because of that reason, these tower moments happen. These tower moments are basically crumbling of our structures that we had built for ourselves in our life, that are not sustainable for us long term, that are not good for our long term physical, mental, emotional, economical, societal, or even global health. And so, anytime something is crumbling in your life, anytime you can see like the anxiety that people are feeling, it is not wrong to feel that anxiety, because I totally understand this anxiety that we are going through. But what is wrong is, or rather, what is a better way to go through that anxiety is to start developing a neutral attitude towards the anxiety we feel, is to develop an attitude where we understand that what is happening because of COVID is just a part of the process of our life structure that needs to change. And if we can start developing some self awareness, some self reflection, some mindfulness, some thoughtfulness into the things that are going wrong in our lives, we will slowly start developing those skills necessary to understand why it's happening in the personal level, in the familial level, in the societal level, in the global level. I have had really almost 22 years of experience having things crumble again and again and again in my life. I think more than 22 years probably, because whatever happened in my childhood and teen years, I no one has come up to me and told me this is what happened with you, but I know that something mysterious and was going on behind my back. And even though I don't have concrete evidence of what mysterious things were happening behind my back, behind the scenes, even now certain things are happening in my life which I am not aware exactly what is going on. I can't be aware about it because it's not part of my journey, probably, to not know about it. All I need to know is this. At least this is how I look at it. That God will always protect me. God has saved me from dying many times. I have had many instances of death getting attracted to me for some reason, and maybe that was part of my some past life karma or this life's karma, I don't know. But whatever it was, death has brushed against me many a times, and despite that I'm still living. So I know that my life and my death is up to God. Similarly, anyone, like if out of there's only 1 or 2% of people who are dying out of COVID, despite that people are panicking about this disease. Doesn't that seem ridiculous? Yes, there is a percentage of population who are getting infected by it and getting like after the infection, they are bedridden for a while. Some people have long term COVID symptoms, some people have short symptoms. So It is concerning. But what I know about healthcare and what I know being a pharmacist and being a healthcare administrator, what I know about health is this, and what I know as a person who's going on the spiritual ascension journey, everything is temporary, everything can change in a blink of an eye, but we only have to keep faith. We have to believe that whatever is happening for our greatest good, we have to trust the universe and God, that universe and God is not going to leave us astray without food on our table or without clothes to wear or without a house to live in. God usually doesn't punish people in that way, but yes, it can happen that if you were a multimillionaire and instead of like millions of dollars, now you have only 1 million. Yes, it is distressful that you lost your billions and millions of dollars. But if you have a million, can you lead your life comfortably at least for a while? Why not? And basically, the best things in life, according to me, are really free things. The things that are the best things about life is nature, is earth, the greenery, the birds and the bees and the animals and the pets and our children and our family and the love we have for different humans that we meet in our life, be it our family, be it our friends, be it our colleagues. This is what is the best thing about humanity, the love that we have for each other. So if you have someone to love, if you have someone to care for, if you have someone who cares for you, if you have someone who cares whether you live or die, if you have some pet who cares whether you live or die, if you have a job that is able to give you some food on the table, and even if you don't have a job that puts food on your table, but if you have some family who shares their money and wealth with you to help you at least go get by in life, then we should have the gratitude that we are able to live, we are able to exist on this earth, we are able to exist comfortably on this earth. Yes, there will be some suffering if you don't have. I can understand the suffering of those people who have to think about when are they going to get their next meal. I can understand their distress. Or if someone, because they don't have any money and is getting thrown out of their either business or getting thrown out of their house because they couldn't pay the rent. I understand the distress of such people, and I understand that such people are going to face challenges in life, and for them to panic, it makes sense. But this is what my dad taught me when I was growing up, that yes, I used to be sad that okay, my friends had 10-20 pieces of clothing, 5-10 different styles of shoes they used to wear. They were very stylish, some of them, and my dad didn't used to allow us to do any of those things. But now I value what my dad taught, that minimalism is also very important. Right now I'm living very minimalistically. I've stopped using many things that I used to use earlier because of allergies and other things. There's a lot of harmful chemicals in the products we use in our life, and the things we use are very harmful to earth. And as my dark night of soul experiences were unfolding, this is what I realized: the things that are harmful to earth, the things that are harmful for humanity or planetary life, and the things that need to slowly shift in each one of our lives. So if we can start focusing on that. And I really had a very tough time the last 2 years, where I was having little bit of difficulty communicating things with my family. They were not able to understand when I was getting health issues. They didn't believe me. Many other things happened with me, but every kind of difficulty that I faced during the COVID, before COVID, all throughout my life, every difficulty just showed me that in every difficulty there is also an opportunity. There is also a silver lining. We have to focus on those silver linings. If you want to talk with me, if you want to get someone as a healer for you or as a friend to advise you on what you should do about certain life problems that you're facing. Either write on the comments and I'll try to answer back, or email me. And if you don't have money, we can find out some barter system or free system for just helping you, because anyone who doesn't have money right now and needs some help, talk to me. I can help you. I am great with giving advice. I've even given advice to my dad's cook and maid, sometimes to the watchman too. Obviously I didn't talk so much with the watchman, but cook and maid, they come regularly, so I sometimes give them advice. And I understand the problems of when you don't have access to money, when you don't have access to funds, and when you're wondering where your next meal will is going to come from. There are solutions to all these problems that God is working on. God has sent healers and people on this earth who can even heal you for free. I actually do know a little bit of healing. I think I can heal some people for free if it is not a very difficult disease. And I can definitely give you some free advice, because I have also developed something called Clair allience. Clair allience is a sense of smell. So, as a sixth sense. So, Clair cognizance is a sixth sense of inner knowing, and Clair alliance is a sixth sense of a smell. So, via smells, sometimes when some human beings are passing me by on the road, or I'm living in the fourth floor of a building, and sometimes, some cars are passing by like 20, 30, 100 feet away. And while they are doing that, I actually can smell sometimes what disease or what condition they are suffering from that could potentially impact them having COVID symptoms. I have some COVID related insights and some personal insights as a pharmacist, because I've worked as a pharmacist and because I also observe people very carefully. I understand the different socioeconomic status related problems or country wise way of living related problems that could be impacting someone's lifestyle, that could cause them to become sick or get more sick than they should be. Because personally speaking, I feel if someone is living in an affluent country and in a country where socioeconomically most people are living quite well in such countries, and if you have access to clean air, water, food, then getting COVID is very less likely. The only people who in those countries will get COVID, they have already found the data. Let me do a new video about COVID, because this has gone over 1 hour. I do want to talk about COVID and my certain ideas about COVID. But anyways, just drop a comment or email me and let's see if I can help you out. I don't know whether I can help you out because I'm just newly beginning this journey, but I do know there are many things I can help people with. And if I'm able to help you, I'll tell you that. If I'm not able to help you, I'll tell you that straight away as well. And hope you enjoyed the video. Take care. Bye.